and welcome to the Disgruntled Traveler Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Tammy. And now that I got your attention, I was at church today. You're like, who, her? She went to church? No, seriously, I didn't go there to pray, okay? I got a story to tell you because I think because I didn't pray is the reason that this happened. I don't know. Call it spiritual karma. Who knows? But anyway, I think I handled it quite well. Or maybe it was just God's test. Where am I at? The story begins in the country I'm at now, Albania. I am currently in the great city of Tirana. Or is it Tirana? I don't know. Tomato, who knows? Anywho, so why did I go to this church to begin with? Okay, what drew me to it? Like I said, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, which means I still believe in a greater good, greater God, a greater force, a source of all, creator, whatever you want to call it, but I don't actually practice the rules of religion and praying and what have you. But once upon a time when I was a wee little girl, my grandmother was very religious, and she used to take me to church every Sunday when I would visit her on my summer breaks. And the church that we would go to is Orthodox because my grandmother's Ukraine, which means I'm part Ukraine, just so you know. Don't say anything about the war, please. Okay, let's move on beyond that. So anyway, I saw this church. It looked old. And I just love big old churches. And since this was my first time seeing this 100-year-old church in a Balkan country in Europe, I had to walk in. I just had to see it. It was free to go inside, so I went inside. So there's a handful of people in there, right? They're lighting candles, they're praying, and I'm looking at all the architecture inside, just like, wow. The paintings and murals of Jesus and God, and it was just the angels. It was beautiful. And it actually took me back to my childhood, and I was remembering my grandmother. I know, but anyway. So I got a little sentimental, right? So I'm snapping some pictures, being, real. I'm just hanging in the back, hanging in the back behind the pews so I wouldn't interrupt anybody else that was actually praying. So I'm snapping some pics and I'm taking some video. And then I just like, okay, I'm done. So then I go outside, right? So I'm walking down the steps. I'm on the sidewalk. And all of a sudden, this man comes out of nowhere wearing a blue jacket. And I think he said he was Albanian, but I don't know. But anyway, when a man approaches me out of nowhere and starts talking, I know he wants money. I've been on the road for a year now, and I know how this shit works, okay? Because this same scam was played on me twice in Bali. So I already know how this game works. So anyway, this is what he did. He comes up, starts walking on the left with me. All of a sudden, hey, how are you? He goes, wasn't that a great church, I said, I was like, oh God, here we go. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, here we go. I was like, yeah, it's a nice church. And he goes, yeah, where are you from? And I'm like, I don't ever tell him where I'm from. I say, I'm from everywhere. And he's like, oh yeah. He goes, well, I'm German. I think he said I'm German, but I'm living now in Tirana. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm walking the whole time. I'm trying to ignore this guy. I'm walking away from the church on the sidewalk, and he's still walking side by side with me, and he's just yakking me up, right? So I'm trying to pretend like I'm like trying to ignore the dude. Like, dude, can't you get a hint that I don't want to have nothing to do with you? I know what you're up to. So finally I stopped and I looked right at him. I says, I don't need a guide. And he goes, oh, no. He goes, no, I'm a good guy. I'm one of the good guys. I'm like, nigga, no, you're not. You such a liar. So anyway, he's still walking and talking, right? And he's trying to draw more information. No, actually what he did was, okay, this is a scam that they play in Bali too. They come up to you and they start rapping the history of their country. And then he's like, have you been to Tirana Square? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, did you know about blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And he starts rapping all of this Albanian history. So while he's talking in my left ear, I'm like, sort of looking at him and I'm looking around and I'm like, how can I get rid of this dude? I was like, I need to lose his ass fast, okay? Because he's not taking no for an answer. So luckily, I came up on a restaurant / cafe, and this worked in Bali too. I'm gonna tell you, this is how you get rid of these assholes. So we come up to the cafe, and I stop, and I point inside. So I'm gonna go get something, and I just dipped in there real fast, and then he's like, "Oh, okay." And instead of waiting, I thought, "Oh, well, if he's really a good guy, he'd probably come inside and maybe want to buy me something." I mean, I'm not a gold digger or anything like that. I mean, a cup of coffee, it's €1 over here, okay? So I was thinking, yeah, if you're really a good guy and you were really legit and not a scammer, then you would probably hop in and say, "Hey, I'll buy you a cup of coffee," right? No, you know what this little nigga did? He turned right around. He tailed it the other way, heading back to the church. Okay? So I'm inside. I didn't have any intention of staying, but I'm inside and it's all glass. So I'm looking like out the window. I'm just standing there looking out the window, watching what he's doing, right? And then I noticed him, he starts trucking the other way. And then he kept like turning around, like looking behind him to see if I would come back outside. So I get close to the edge of the exit and I'm still like just watching him take off down the sidewalk because I wasn't going to jump out of the cafe until he left. So yeah, and he's still going and going. And I watched him finally fade off into the distance. Okay. So he actually walked back to the church. So then that's when I left the cafe. Nobody said anything to me. I guess they sort of looked at me funny, but I don't care. I would have told him what happened. But I left the cafe and I got rid of his ass, man. I was so happy I got rid of his ass. So that is the story of how you get rid of these scammers. So just remember, now I don't know if this would work with a regular dude. If you're a guy and you're just like a solo traveler, they may still come up to you. Actually, I've seen that. I'm going to be honest with you. I saw that in Bali when I went to a museum because the same thing happened to me. I got rid of the dude, and then I saw that same guy approach a male traveler, and he latched right on him. And then I saw the male traveler give him money. And I was like, oh man, if you start doing that, then that's how they learn. And they're like, yeah, I can scam them. I can wear them down and shit. So tell me what you think. Um, do you think that's cool for them to do something like that? I don't. I mean, that's a ripoff. So anyway, after I turned back around, I had to go back the same way to get back home. And I was across the street and I was watching. And I didn't see him anywhere, but I saw a cop. So I stopped and I told this Albanian cop, I said, hey, there's some dude in a blue jacket by the church who's scamming tourists down there. And I don't know if the guy understood me because I said English. He goes, yeah. He was just like, I was like, are you serious? He's putting his hands up in the air like, I don't know. I don't care. I'm just standing here being cute, cop. I was like, yeah, you're a whole lot of help. So anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. That's the story of the week. And remember, I am the disgruntled traveler.